Hello, New York City. I'm Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I'm so happy that my novel, Americana, is the winner of the One Book, One New York program. So in my novel, Americana, one of the characters talks about how Americans are always excited about things. But I want to say that today, like Americans, I am so excited that you chose my book as the winner of the One Book, One New York program. Whether you check out Americana from your local library, pick up a copy at your local bookstore, or even start your own book club to read along with friends, I hope you enjoy my novel. Check out the website below to learn about the community events happening all over New York City in the next few months. And you can join the conversation with the hashtag OneBookNY. Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be part of this effort from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment.
Julie Menin and Isaac Fitzgerald. One more time, please, please. This is so exciting. Big day, too, by the way.
It's a huge day for us. Huge day for New York.
We just announced the winner of all the votes. They've been tallied. We know which book we're going to be reading. Very exciting.
Yes.
Yes, so we're excited about this. Julie, this is such a cool and interesting and first of its kind program. The largest community read in all of the United States right now. Tell us, where did the idea come from? How did we get started? How did we end up here? Tell us about the journey.
So it's really an interesting story. I was at an event with the author Tom Wolfe, and I had just become Commissioner of Media and Entertainment. This was about a year ago.
No big deal.
Just dropping that name.
And I asked the author Tom Wolfe, well, if you were the City of New York, what do you think the City of New York should be doing to support the publishing industry and to support literacy efforts? He mentioned he had been in Chicago. Chicago had done a one-book program. They had all read To Kill a Mockingbird, and we thought that was interesting. And when we went back and looked at why had the City of New York not done this, we found out that the city had tried to do this in 2002. A number of civic groups, literary groups got together, but they couldn't agree on the book. So in an only in New York moment, could they not agree on the book? And so we really took that as a cautionary tale. We decided instead to partner with our friends at Buzzfeed, who we are thrilled are our partners on this effort. We picked 5 books. We had an incredible committee, literary and academic committee, that helped us with this selection. And we had 5 books with 5 celebrities each promoting the book. And then we had a public vote.
And the celebrities, it was just amazing to get them to agree. Like, that was the best part for me from our angle. Basically, at one point the mayor's office reached out and they were just like, hey, we're thinking about doing this thing, like, let's talk through how we could work. And of course BuzzFeed, we were just like, oh, what if we made some videos? What if we made it shareable? What's a way in which we could engage readers so that they get excited about casting these votes, right? And there was this like moment where it's just like, oh, but people's schedules, this, that, yada, yada, yada. But everyone involved was so excited. Like, everyone, the second you say One Book, One New York, the second you say the City of New York coming together to read this one book, everyone was on board. It was really great.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at these 5 books that were selected, if you think about the political climate we're in, honestly, I don't think we can think of 5 more important books than these particular 5 books to be reading at this time. They all deal with issues of immigration, of race, of ethnic identity, and so we feel this is absolutely the right time to be reading these books and to have this particular discussion, and certainly Americana really exemplifies that.
Absolutely. Give it up for the winner, of course, but like also pick up these other books too.
Right. Exactly. There is a winner, but these are all great books. There's no reason to not read any of these. These are all fantastic books. I want to talk about getting these 5 books. How did you guys arrive at the 5, especially knowing going in that that was a huge part of last time why it didn't work?
Well, exactly. We did not want to have the failure of what happened in 2002. So the first thing we did is we had an august committee of academics, of literary critics, of the heads of the public library, and we had them recommend 50 books. And then really working with BuzzFeed, we helped to really winnow down those books, and Isaac was absolutely instrumental in doing that. We wanted to have 5 books that truly were diverse and representative of the kinds of themes that we felt New Yorkers should be discussing. And certainly it's a priority within the de Blasio administration to focus on equity, access, inclusion, and that's exactly what these 5 books do.
And so that's another reason why it was very important, and the mayor's office was very clear about this from the get-go. Like, It should be a paperback. It's a book that's already in paperback. It's a book that's been translated. These should not just, they don't have to be the most contemporary books. It's about finding books that are accessible to people, not just through the libraries, but that are affordable as well, and local bookstores.
Well, exactly. And the New York Public Libraries were key partners. Brooklyn Public Library, Queens Public Library. I mean, all of our over 200 public library branches in the city. We have over 1,000 copies right now of Americana, but we also had copies, thousands of copies of these other books as well. And that's really what this is about, is making sure there are no barriers to anyone being able to read these books. So all the public libraries had them. And I'm really happy to say that we now have a partnership with Scribd, where right now you can go on our website and you can download a free audiobook of Americana for the next 3 months. You can go to our website, which is nyc.gov/onebook, and you can get a free audio copy. Because again, this is all about access and inclusion. We want every New Yorker who's interested in reading Americana to do so. We have dozens of events that are happening around the city celebrating Americana, discussion groups, all sorts of events celebrating this particular book.
For sure. There's a lot to unpack there. I want to go back and talk about a lot of these things at length. But your excitement is very much infectious, and it's no surprise. I mean, like, it's a really incredible program. Do you think, aside from also, the decision process of making these 5 books and all that, social media perhaps played a very large part, sort of where we are as a culture right now, played a large part in getting this off the ground versus in 2002? What kind of role do you think that played in sort of mobilizing and getting everyone on board?
Give me that hashtag, Julie.
Okay, so hashtag OneBookNY, and we had 18 million Twitter impressions of this.
Just in the month of February.
Just in the month of February, and it was a top trend on Twitter on February 1st when we learned, and it trended today on Twitter. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, and so for me, this is the beauty of what the internet can help, especially in terms of literary conversations, right? Yeah. You have people that are able to come together, of course, in spaces. I want people to be coming together in libraries. I want people to be coming together in bookstores. It's about, reading it on the subway. But there's also a discussion to be had online. There's a way that you can reach out to other members of New York, other people that maybe you wouldn't bump into in your community, to have a larger discussion about the book. And that's where the hashtag really comes into play for me. And so for me, like, I'm a Twitter boy. Like, I love Twitter, talking about Twitter, jokes. But then on Instagram, like, there are so many thoughtful things being posted on Instagram. This is something that on Facebook we're seeing more and more conversations happening. And so the idea of people being able to find other people who are taking part in this initiative from all over the city is really helpful.
And I thought one of the most amazing things is people were tweeting at us. They were on the subway. They saw one of the ads on the subway. They said, "Oh, hey, I'm reading the Cell ad," or "I'm reading The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde." And they would tweet a picture of themselves reading that book. And so you'd start to have that kind of dialogue and that type of experience. So that's really why I think it had the viral response that it did on social media.
For sure. One of the things I'm really excited about, you said 18 million impressions
18 million Twitter impressions in February, yep.
That's incredible traction for it to pick up like that, and it gives me hope. I feel like right now, just with the political climate and everything the way it is, a lot of people have forgotten how to have just a discussion without going to hyperbole and without just being able to talk, And you mentioned discussion, you mentioned community. That's what a lot of this, even not, self-admitted, not a huge reader, I'm excited to read these books and be a part of this.
We're going to come back and quiz you on them, so now you got to read them.
I will hold you to that. I'll gladly, anytime. But very much so, I'm excited about this sort of, in a way, and I know this is kind of a big, lofty expectation of this, but slowly retraining the community how to talk and how to disagree or agree and how to have a discussion on things. What are some things you're excited about that this can bring back to the community?
Well, one of the most important things is the teaching moment. So we are partnering with Columbia Teachers College. They are actually coming up with a teaching curriculum around Americana, which will inform teachers' work. So teachers in schools throughout New York City and quite honestly nationwide can use this curriculum in terms of how to teach Americana. Also, the publisher Penguin has a reader's guide. So whether you're in a book club or you just want to read along with this reader's guide, there are really thoughtful analysis and questions in there that can help to spark a conversation. But I think one of the most exciting parts of Americana that I am personally excited about is how Chimamanda really deals with issues around race, around feminism. This is such an important book to read, and it really can spark conversations that we all need to be having.
Yeah, and back again to teaching. And also, real quick, where can they find that readers discussion?
So you can find the readers discussion at www.nyc.gov/onebook.
Yeah, good plug. No, but so there's going to be this discussion around it, and just as excited as I am about the online discussion, one of the fun things to see for me personally, just as somebody that I grew up in Boston, I remember visiting New York for the first time. I remember just seeing those subway ads, and so for me, as much as this is taking place online, this conversation, seeing those subway ads just meant the absolute world to me. And seeing the same space that's given to Stephen Colbert, made in New York, to books, just meant so much to me. So it was so great to see the mayor's office kind of push that initiative out. And not only were they on subway ads, but there were little kiosks where you could vote, et cetera, et cetera. But now that we've got the winner, right? Now that we've got this one book, the idea that there's going to be not just discussions around it, but hopefully people interacting, maybe strangers, right there on the subway. And I want to plug it because it just got published today, right? There's a great piece on Vulture. And it was 5 ways to start a discussion around Americana now that it's been chosen for the One Book NY program.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And there's also the economic reason why we did the program. So we've talked a lot about literacy and about the commonality of reading the same book at the same time and having those civic conversations. But another reason we did this program is for the economic impact for bookstores. There are about 65 independent bookstores in New York City, but there's some boroughs in the city, the Bronx has no bookstore. So, this is a travesty to think about that there are not access to those bookstores. And I remember as a kid, I grew up in Washington, D.C., going to my local bookstore and being able to sit down and look at the books and buy a book, or going to my local public library branch. We want to make sure that we're supporting independent bookstores, and this is really an effort to do so.
Bookstore in D.C., was it Kramer Books?
Yes.
Yeah, Kramer Books.
Those are all great points. I want to talk a little bit more about Chimamanda for a second and how incredible she is in doing some research. For those that aren't familiar, Baseline, her TED Talk on feminism inspired Beyonce. If that's not enough to get you to pay attention to what she has to say and listen to her perspective. Isaac, I was told you're a bit of an expert on this book, on Chimamanda. I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about her and what we have to look forward to as a reader coming into Americana.
What you have in Americana, at its core, at its absolute core, is a love story, right? And who doesn't give it up for love stories?
Woo! Yeah. We love love stories.
At its core, it's a love story, and it's an amazing, amazing story about love. But as the commissioner was saying, it was also about immigration, all right? You've got a main character that's coming away, immigrating into America and trying to deal with not just issues of identity, but also of how to deal with different forms of racism, how to deal with different forms of prejudice, what it means to be an immigrant here in America, and then also to talk about what it means, the Black identity. And not just here in America, right? But also the Black identity in London, in Nigeria. There are these different things that these characters are going through, and the discussions around them are so beautifully woven in this story. It's just such an incredibly literary feat. And the way we come across the character at the opening, she's getting her hair done. She's about to return to her home country for the first time in 15 years. And then the novel is almost told through these stories of flashbacks. And there's just something in there for everyone that's human to relate to, absolutely. But it's hard not to ignore that in these current times, that stories of immigration, stories of how people struggle, whether it's faking documents to try and get a job, whether it's having to depend on family members when you first get here to get a lay of the land. All these different situations in this book are so beautifully told.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And the story is told, the protagonist is a woman in Nigeria. She comes here for college, and her boyfriend is supposed to come as well. That is their plan, but he cannot get papers in the post-9/11 world, so he ends up living an undocumented life in London. And so when we think about it from today's perspective and what is happening in our political climate, and also when we think about what's happening here in New York City, we are very proud in the de Blasio administration of having launched a municipal ID program, and it's programs like that that really are game changers. And so we are thrilled that this book was picked, and we think it's incredibly important that now New Yorkers are going to be able to have conversations. Some of them are hard conversations about the topics that were so eloquently raised by Chimamanda.
For sure. We
You should
have
review books. That was
I might
really
have
good.
to do that then.
I was gonna say, do you want to? You know, we're always looking for freelance writers.
We're gonna trade jobs.
She's doing a pretty good job with this commissioner thing. I would.
Fair. Very good point. Very good point.
But it's good to know there's always something to fall back on, right?
Exactly.
We do have to turn it over to audience Q&A in a second, and we will do that because I want to make sure we get to all your questions and we have plenty of time. But I do have one more question before we do. We talked a little bit about the number of impressions. We talked a little bit about all these conversations that are going to come about. I know if we go to nyc.gov/onebook, there's tons of great events that are coming up that help the momentum going, that keep it going. To sort of let everybody know that hasn't had a chance to go check these out yet, pick one of these events that's coming up that maybe you're most excited about to kind of get the fire, stoke the fire a little bit, and let people know what they can expect in the coming months.
Sure, happy to. So we have literally dozens and dozens of events. We have events happening in every single borough. So we have everything from we're partnering with the African Film Festival to show certain films that have to do with some of the themes that Chimamanda mentioned. We've got an event with the Paris Review. We have literary critics talking on panels. I mean, we have so many events. I think there's an event, hopefully, that will appeal to everyone. And we have music events that really profile music in Africa. I mean, it's just a plethora of different events covering all sorts of topics that are raised. So I really hope that you all will check them out and come to one of our events. They're all free, open to the public, and happening for the next 3 months.
Yeah, for the next 3 months. And they're going to be amazing. There's one, the Paris Review is putting together a salon, which is super exciting. Housing Works, which is one of my favorite bookstores in New York City. Not that you can pick favorites, love them all. But Housing Works Bookstore is a nonprofit bookstore that is dedicated to eradicating homelessness and AIDS here in New York City. It's a kick-ass nonprofit, and they've decided that they're going to as well host an event, have a panel. So those, we're just talking about a few right now. If you go to the website, what's the website?
It's nyc.gov/onebook. Can we get we don't usually do this. I'm going to talk to the crew. I want a chyron. I want that on the bottom of the screen while we're talking.
Thank you.
nyc.gov/onebook. I think we can figure it out, and I think it merits it. Finish your thought.
No, I'm just saying that there's so much to be done. Because you read the book, you want to go out and discuss. This is a book you're going to want to talk with people about. And again, if you're like, you know what, that's not for me. I don't like crowds, and I get it. I'm with you. It's okay. Like, download this reader's guide.
Exactly.
Download this reader's guide. Start a small book club. Have the discussion in your living room with the folks that you know and you love. That's awesome as well.
Well, one thing, the last thing I'll say before we go to audience Q&A that really strikes me about this whole thing is how uniquely New York it is, in that there are community reads all over the place, but this is an opportunity for literally $0, just being a member of the community here, that you can not only read this book with a bunch of friends and new friends, but immerse yourself completely in the story of the book, in all the background, the music events you're talking about, the filmmaker events. There's all these tangential things that you can experience and enjoy. And you said they were free, right? All the events are free.
They're all free. And on the website, which you're chyroning.
I defy you to name any other place in the world where you can do that. It's a really, really cool thing. And I thank both of you for all your hard work in getting us to this point and getting it off the ground. On that note, I would love to turn it over to my fellow New Yorkers and take some questions from the audience. Who has a microphone right up front?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for being here. This is amazing, and I can't wait to check out these books. My question is actually about the act of reading itself, because we live in the modern world where everything is now electronic. It's on a Kindle, which is probably more eco-friendly than printing all these pages. But for me, like, reading has always been about like the experience, the smell of the pages, going to the library. Do you think that sort of the newer generations who don't really have to experience that, do you think they're missing out on that sort of experience? And what do you think the future of reading?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I'm the mother of 3 boys who happen to like to read on the Kindle. And I always tell them, well, when I was a child, I would go to the public library, order Kramer books, and I love that visceral feel. I know what you mean, the smell of the paper, turning the page. There's nothing like that. And I think it's unfortunate that oftentimes the younger generation is not having that experience, because I do think you read the book differently when you actually have that physical copy versus online. But with that said, we want to have something for everyone, and that's why we've got the audiobook online. So for those that prefer the audiobook, they can do that. For those that want to go to the public library, there are over 200 branches in New York City, Americanas in all of them, so we encourage people to do that. So I think you're asking a really great, provocative question, and people, as long as though they're reading, I think, I'm curious to hear if Isaac agrees with that, but obviously we want to be able to support literacy in all of its different forms.
There is no wrong way to read a book. There's no wrong way. Yeah, go ahead. There's no wrong way to read a book. Come on, guys. You want to put it through your ear, eyes? That's fine. If that's how you read, that's great. It's all about the story, of course. That said, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I don't have my preferences. I love books. I love the actual physical books. I love how they smell. They're just so delicious. And so with that in mind, I'm just gonna hit you with a fact that you should actually probably fact check me on. I know the truth is in there. I might not be getting it absolutely right, but the Pew Research Center just 6 months ago came out with a study that said the younger generation, so below baby boomers, are actually reading more and reading physical books. So there's been, I think, a little bit of a pendulum swing. Ebook sales are great. That's wonderful. I love them. But they have kind of plateaued. And book sales are still continuing to go up. So I really do believe, again, no wrong way to read a book, but I really do believe that people are finding the stories that they love in the best way possible.
Yeah, I do think, too, like you're right, you're starting to see that pendulum swing in the same way that people re-embraced vinyl and now people are putting demos out on cassettes. There's something about the older media, the tangible, like I'm holding a book, all those things that people are rediscovering and falling in love with.
I'm going to burn you a CD after this.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Next question, please.
Hey, so I know like I think around June there's a book expo and then like a book convention.
Yes.
How are you guys affiliated with that at all? And also how important do you think it is to have like celebrities kind of sponsoring or promoting book?
Okay, well, I'll take the second part of the question first. We did use celebrities in this program. I think it was really important because all the 5 celebrities that we have are mainly have major TV shows right now, most of them. And so it was also a great way to kind of cross-promote so that if you happen to be watching their TV show, we could also work on a cross-promotion because, again, we're trying to promote literacy. We're trying to promote independent bookstores. We're trying to promote conversations around these books. So any way that we could bring added attention and doing so, I think, through celebrities was an important way to do so. Book Expo, we're absolutely working with Book Expo. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization. And we're also very supportive of children's book fairs. I do want to mention that. We worked to save the book fair in Queens a couple months ago, and that was something that I think was very near and dear to our hearts because, again, we really want to make sure that everyone has access to the books that they want to read and that no one is being deprived of access to these great books.
Are book fairs in danger?
Book fairs can be in danger. I mean, this one was in danger. It had certain issues regarding lack of sponsorship, so we were happy to come in and make sure that happened.
That is that was my favorite part. Does everybody remember how elated you were when you went down and one day the hallway was just filled with tables, tablecloths, and books, and you were like, the book fair is here. That was like the best time. Anything I can do to help support book fairs, you let me know. We'll talk after.
Okay, we're going to count on you.
Yeah, and I just want to say the celeb aspect of it, it's the mayor's office of media and entertainment. That's what part of the partnership, working with them was so amazing because I would say something like, I don't know, maybe we could get William H. Macy. And they'd be like, yeah, we got his number right here. No, like that's the amazing part, right? So with working with the mayor's office of media and entertainment, they had access to people that are filming TV shows here, and those actors were so excited to help promote reading, and that's what it really came down to is getting attention, right? And so on a Subway ad, it'd be one thing to see the book, of course, right? But to see Larry Wilmore holding The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, that's going to draw eyes. That's going to get attention. Oh, what is that? And that's to me one of the cool things about this was that those Subway ads with books on them that also had famous faces.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So talking about William H. Macy, so he's in a TV show, Shameless. And so one of the themes we had going here was, for so many times people are binge watching TV shows. We wanted people to say, well, what am I binging on? We're binging on these books. And we wanted to make that link between TV binge watching and binge reading.
Which again, Americana's the winner, but you can read them all.
I can read all these books. We have time, I believe, for 2 more questions.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I've been seeing these posters a lot on the subway, so I'm excited to learn more about it. You just mentioned school book fairs. I wanted to know your thoughts on, do you think schools should have banned books?
Should they have banned, but you
Yeah.
mean censorship?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one thing I will say about that is we are very focused in our office and in the administration as a whole in letting people have all the types of conversations around free speech that they should. So we get very leery of any type of censorship whatsoever. If you look at these 5 books, there are some who might say, well, you know, they're controversial subjects that are raised. Some of them are incredibly provocative, and people might not necessarily agree with all these 5 choices. But that is everyone's right to either read the book or don't read the book. So the last thing that we want to do is get involved in the banning of books, the censorship of books. We really very much are in support of free speech and the right to choose to read the book or not to.
This is not your first rodeo. That was impressive. Look, I say no. Of course, there are different books for different ages. You know, of course, appropriateness. But I won't lie, it's the books that I discovered when I was 12 that really turned me into a reader. And those books were probably meant for 18-year-olds, maybe older. But it was reading those books that really gave me this love of literature. So I'm in a different position, so but that was really impressive. I agree with the commissioner, and for me, it's all about finding the books, finding the stories that speak to you at the right time.
We're going to take our last question from an online viewer.
Okay.
So Joyce would like to know, do you have any plans to do this again in the future, perhaps with the other books or a movie?
Oh, thank you so much for raising that. So absolutely, Isaac and I were just talking backstage about this. We are going to do this again. So this was our inaugural partnership. We're doing it again, round 2 next year. And we're excited about that because I think what we were hopefully able to prove is that this kind of program really has traction. There was tremendous excitement about it. And we're thrilled to be able to partner again and bring this to New York City next year.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point, right? If you can do this one project and then show it successful, then, oh my God, like imagine, this is New York City. It's the center of publishing. It should have a one book, one New York, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, next year's. But
There we
do
go.
this year first.
And now it does. Last question, simple one. Where can I get one of those really cool Made in New York pins?
We'll give you one. Absolutely. We'll get you one. I promise.
Oh, goodness. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. The hashtag that we're using, guys, it's hashtag OneBookNewYork. The site for more information, which you need to go check out, nyc.gov/onebook. Join me one time in thanking, please, Julie Menin and Isaac Fitzgerald. Round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much.